For the materials, I'm using a size 4 yarn. It recommends a 5mm hook, but I'm going to use a 5.25mm hook. Then you're going to need some scissors. You'll need a darning needle to weave in your ends, and I will be using this tape measure to show you guys the measurements. This hat is made of 6 granny squares and 1 hexagon. If you don't already have your granny squares, or if you don't know how to make one, I will leave the link in the description box for you to go and make a granny square. But in this tutorial, I'm only going to show you how to make the hexagon and make the rest of the hat, apart from making the granny squares, because I already have a fully detailed tutorial on how to make one. So you go and watch that tutorial, make your granny squares, make 6 of them, and then get back to this video and watch the rest. Okay, all right, so we're now going to start by making a hexagon. We're going to start with a magic ring. Then insert a hook and pull up a loop, chain 3, which is going to count as our first stitch, then yarn over, and in this same space we're going to make 3 double crochets. That's 2 and 3. The chain 3 is counting as our first one. Chain 2, make 3 double crochets in that ring, chain 2, make 3 double crochets in the same ring, chain 2, make 3 double crochets in the same ring, and you're going to repeat this until you have a total of 6 chain 2 spaces. Okay, so far we have 1, 2, 3. I have 3 more to go. So in this same ring, I'm going to chain 2 and make 3 double crochets, all right. So now we have we're counting the chain 2 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we need a total of 6. So once you get to the end and you have your 5 chain 2 spaces, you're going to chain 2 and slip stitch on top of the 3rd chain. And by doing this, we now have the chain 2 space that we needed to complete this ring. So we have 6 chain 2 spaces in total. Once you're done, you're going to pull this strand to close the ring. That's the end of our row 1. To start row 2, chain 3, turn your work, and in this ring you're going to make 2 double crochets. Again, the chain 3 is counting as our first stitch. After that, you're going to chain 2, and in that same chain 2 space make 3 more double crochets. And this is a shell of 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, all in the same space. Then you're going to yarn over, and in the next chain 2 space you're going to make a shell of 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, and we're going to do this in all the chain 2 spaces. Okay, yarn over, make a shell in the next chain 2 space. So make your 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets in the same space. This is what you should have. and you're going to repeat that in all the chain 2 spaces. Once you get to the end, you're going to slip stitch on top of the 3rd chain to complete row 2, like so. Chain 1. If you're not changing colors, you'll just continue, but I'm going to change colors to pink. This is what you should have at the end of row 2. Once I weave this in, this will close. Okay, I'm going to make a slip knot with my pink color. And remember, we have to turn our work at the end of every row. So at the end of row 2, make sure you have a total of 6 corners. I'm going to attach my yarn right here where we left off. And in this space, I'm going to make only 3 double crochets. So I'm going to chain 3, which is counting as my first double crochet. And then in that same space, I'm going to make 2 double crochets to complete my first cluster of 3 double crochets. Okay, so here we have 3 double crochets. After that, you're going to yarn over, and in the next chain 2 space, I'm going to make a shell of 3 double crochets. So yarn over, and in the next chain 2 space, make 3 double crochets. I'm doing this as I work over these strands. Chain 2, 3 double crochets, all in the same space. Now we have this next space here, and we're going to place there only 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Next, we have the chain 2 space, and we're going to place there a shell of 3 double crochets. Chain 2, 3 double crochets in the same space. And your work should look like this. And what we're doing here is placing a shell, or making 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets in the chain 2 of the previous row. Okay, and then in this space we're only making 3 double crochets. Next, we have this space right here, and we're going to place there only 3 double crochets. Then we have the chain 2 space, and we're going to place there a shell of 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets in the same space. And we're now going to repeat this pattern all the way around. The next space gets only 3 double crochets. Once you get to the end of the round, you're going to slip stitch on top of the 3rd chain. chain 1. I'm going back to my teal color. And this is how row 3 should look. Okay, I'm going to make a slip knot. Remember to turn your work. I'm going to attach my yarn right here where I left off. Then secure it and chain 3, which counts as our first double crochet. Then in that same space, make 2 more double crochets for a total of 3. That's 2. And 3. Then yarn over and make 2 double crochets in the next chain 2 space. Make 3 double crochets in the next chain 2 space. Make 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets in the same space. Next, you're going to yarn over, and in the next space you're going to make a cluster of 3 double crochets, make 3 double crochets in the next space, then make a shell in the next chain 2 space. Then you're going to yarn over, and in the next space you're going to make 3 double crochets, yarn over, make 3 double crochets in the next space, yarn over, make a shell in the next chain 2 space. And this is what we are going to repeat. So when I get here to where I worked over my strands, as you can see, you can clearly see them here. I'm going to insert my hook under those strands and work over them. Okay, like so. Then make my shell. Then when you get to this next space, so while making the shell, you ignore those strands because you can't see them here. So when you get to this side, you can clearly see them. So again, you're going to insert your hook under those strands and make your cluster of 3 double crochets. Okay, this is my last cluster. Once you get to the end, you're going to slip stitch on the 3rd chain. And this is how your work should look at this point. And we're going to repeat that row. We're going to do it one more time, and then we are done with the hexagon. Chain 3, which counts as our first double crochet, and turn your work. In that same space where the chain 3 is coming out of, make 2 double crochets. Make 2 double crochets in the next, make 3 double crochets in the next space. Make a shell of 3 double crochets. Chain 2, 3 double crochets all in the same space. In the next space, make a cluster of 3 double crochets. Make 3 double crochets in the next space. And you're going to repeat with this pattern. We are we're doing the same thing we did on our previous row, only that this time around this area we're having 3 clusters instead of 2, because the spaces increased on our row 4. Okay, so this is my last cluster right here, making sure I go under those strands from the previous row. Then slip stitch on top of the 3rd chain. Chain 1. Cut off the yarn. And there we have our hexagon completed. Just going to cut these off. Make sure to weave in this first strand. Please don't just cut it. Make sure you weave it in with your darning needle. Then you can cut it off. I'm going to weave this one in as well. Once you have your hexagon completed, you're going to get your 6 granny squares that you had to make, and we're going to align them like so, placing 1 granny square on every side of the hexagon. Like so. So we're going to attach this side here, then we attach here. So we're basically going to attach these granny squares to the hexagon. Okay, but before that I'll show you guys the measurement. As you can see, my hexagon is 7.5 inches wide. That's the widest part. And here it's about 6 inches long. Then for my granny squares are 5 inches. Okay, 5 inches for the granny squares. So next you're going to get your you're going to get your darning needle. Then you're going to pull through the yarn. You can also use the single crochet stitch if you prefer to use the single crochet. I'm tying a knot here. Okay, so we're going to do this one by one. I'm going to start with this granny square. I'm going to place it on like this, right sides facing each other. Okay, so this is the wrong side, and I'm going to start from the chain 2 space of both sides. I'm going to insert my darning needle and pull through the yarn, going through that same space again and pull through the yarn. Now that this is secured, I'm going to join until I get to the next chain 2 space. So here the hexagon and the granny squares, they both have the same number of stitches of clusters. Okay, so we have 1 2 3 4 5 clusters, and the hexagon also has 1 2 3 4 5. So everything has to match up. So while sewing, make sure you go through the stitches for both sides at the same time. Okay. This is all you have to do until you get to the chain 2 space. So this is the chain 2 space, and I'm going through the first chain at the same time for both sides, and then the second chain as well for both sides, and pulling through the yarn. And at this point I have attached my first granny square, and this is how it looks. So do not cut off the yarn. If you still have a long strand like me, simply get your second granny square, and we are just going to continue joining. Okay, so insert your hook through this first chain, and go back in that chain 2 space of the other side and pull through the yarn like so. Then the second chain of this granny square, pull through, and after that start sewing on top of every stitch. This is what you should have after attaching your second granny square. I'm going to repeat that same process and join the rest of my granny squares to the hexagon. Okay, so here we are, guys. I have already attached all my granny squares. So now my yarn is still attached on this side, and we are now going to join the sides of the granny squares. Okay, so from where my yarn is, I'm going to align my granny squares like so, and then I'm going to join this part, only this part, and then I'll cut off my yarn. Okay, so starting with the first stitch, which is this one right here, going to go through the one at the back, and I'm going to join like so until I get to the end. Okay, so here I have the chain 2 space for both sides, and I'm going to go through the chains. So I'm going to go through the first chain, then the second one, pull through, then the second chain, pull through. So we have joined these 2 granny squares. Okay, I'm going to go through them one more time because we need this to be secured. Then before I cut off my yarn, I'm going to weave it through and make sure that it won't come out undone. All right, once I'm sure that everything is secured, and then I'm going to cut off the yarn. So now we have joined these 2 squares together here. Now we're going to do the same thing for this part. Okay, then we shall do all over squares. Okay, I'm going to get some new yarn. So I'm going to continue joining on this other side as well. Again, once you are done, you're going to weave in the yarn before you cut it. Okay, so weave it in a few times, and then after that you can cut. Okay, then get your darning, get your scissors and cut. And there we have it. Now off to the next one. I'm going to do the rest off camera, and I'll be back once I have joined everything together. Okay guys, so this is how it looks after joining all the granny squares. So this is what you should have. When I'm going to make a row of decrease, a row of single crochet decrease, I'm going to make a slip knot with my new color, with my pink color that is, and then I'm going to insert my hook right here in the chain 2 space, right here, chain 1 to secure it, Then I'm going to chain one, and in that same space I'm going to insert my hook and pull up a loop. And then I'm going to cross over to this side of the chain two space, and then I'll insert my hook, pull up a loop, and then I'm going to pull through everything. So you'll have 3 loops on your hook and pull all the 3 loops of your hook. After that, you're going to make 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches. Then the next 2 stitches will get a decrease, so insert your hook, pull up a loop, insert your hook in the next stitch, pull up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook and pull through everything. Then make 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches, then make a decrease. So insert your hook, pull up a loop, insert your hook in the next stitch, pull up a loop, then yarn over, pull through everything. And that's what you're going to repeat for this round. 2 single crochets, then 2 single crochets together, like so. When you get to the chain 2 spaces, you make a decrease, or you make 1 single crochet in every space depending on how your work is going. So this is how it looks. And I'm going to continue like this until I get to the end. Alright, I'm at the end of my round and I have 2 stitches left where I'm going to place just simple single crochets to complete the round, and then I'm going to slip stitch on top of the first single crochet. So in total here around my heart I have 65 single crochets, this pink color here, 65 single crochets. So now we're going to do the ribbing. So chain 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Then you're going to add 1 more. The one we have just added is going to work as a turning chain, and then you're going to turn your chain around because we're going to work in the back bumps of the chain, or you can do it the usual way if that's what you like to do. So I'm going to skip that first chain, and into the second I'm going to insert my hook and make a single crochet right there. Then single crochet in the next stitch, single crochet in the next stitch, oops, single crochet in the next stitch, then this here is my last one because 1, 2, 3, 4. We need to have a total of 5 single crochets. Okay, so once you get to the end, this here is my next stitch. So I'm going to insert my hook and slip stitch like so. Then you're going to slip stitch in the next stitch. Then turn your work, and you're going to skip those 2 slip stitches you just made and single crochet in the back loop only of the next stitch. So single crochet in the next stitch until you get to the end. So since I have 5 stitches here, I need to have 5 single crochets in total. When you have 1 stitch left, you're going to go through both. Okay, for this very last one, we go through both and make a single crochet. Okay, chain 1 and turn, and you're going to make 1 single crochet in the back loop only of the next 5 stitches. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Then you're going to slip stitch on top of the next single crochet from, you know, the single crochet decrease row that we made. So you're going to slip stitch in that next single crochet again in the next single crochet, and then turn your work, and you're going to repeat, making 1 single crochet in the back loop only of the next 5 stitches. When you have 1 stitch left, you're going to go through both and single crochet, then chain 1, turn your work, and you're going to repeat this pattern all the way around the hat. Okay. I will keep going and then I'll be back once I am done with this. I'm at the end of my round and I have 2 stitches left. So I'm going to make my last 2 slip stitches, 1 and 2. Then I'm going to turn my round, I'm going to turn my work and then make a row of single crochet. I maintained my stitches, so I still have a total of 5 single crochets. Chain 1. So now this is going to be my last row, and then I'll join everything together once I get back here to the end. So single crochet in the back loop of the first stitch, single crochet in the next stitch, single crochet, single crochet. This is my 5th stitch, single crochet. So once you get to the end, you're going to we're going to slip stitch right here, okay, right under this first row that we made, because we need to bring these 2 rows together or closer to each other so we can join them together. So to join, I'm going to go in the back loop only of each side, like so, and then slip stitch. You can slip stitch or single crochet. This is a bit loose. Okay, going to slip stitch, touch a hook in the back loop only of each side, and slip stitch or single crochet, whatever works for you. This is the last one, so I'm going through both loops for both sides. This one is kind of hard. Okay, here we go. Pull through, chain 1, get your scissors and cut, leaving a long tail to weave in. And this is how it looks. I love it. Now get your darning needle and weave the tail through the same color that you did the ribbing with. Okay. Going to do the same thing with this tail as well. All right, now that everything is secured, cut off the strands. I still have one more right here. I'll do that later, but you get the idea, guys. And this is it. Let's see how many inches it is across. It's 11 inches. That's it. And that brings us to the end of today's tutorial. Let me know what you think of this video, guys. Leave me a comment below, and I hope you liked this video because I really enjoyed making it for you guys, and I loved working on this project, and I hope to make more. So yeah, thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next tutorial. Bye bye.